Good morning and welcome to the second day of Regional Scrum Gathering Belgrade 2021. It's really nice to see you all. Well, not see you, but you get the point. I hope that you are awake, that you already had your morning coffee or tea, because there are a lot of great speakers and interesting topics ahead of us today. On this dev stage, today we will talk about different interesting topics. We will talk about Agile transformations, we will talk about QA, test automation, disciplined Agile, and other things. Each session will have a Q&A part that will be at the end of the session, where we will answer your questions regarding the topics of that session. So I invite you to ask anything you would like to learn more about, or anything that you would like to clarify more on the Match About Q&A section. So go to the app and then you will see Q&A, find the topic that you were listening, and please ask questions to our speakers. Usually the biggest number of people are online in these early morning hours. So I would like to take this opportunity and once again say thank you. Thank you to all of our speakers who share their experience and knowledge to us all. Thank you to all the companies who joined us and sponsored this event and made it possible. To Puzzle Software and Agile Serbia for their great effort and commitment in organizing Regional Scrum Gathering. It wasn't easy to do that. Even switch it from the physical event to the online event, which is always challenging. Here we have to click like 15 buttons just to change the sound and everything, because we are doing this with multiple platforms. And of course, I would like to thank all of you who joined us and participated actively, and will do so today as well, which made this event a truly regional event of Agile and Scrum practitioners. For our first session of today, on this dev stage, we welcome a man who is an Agile professional and consultant for years now. He's helping teams and organizations around the world to become more efficient and effective and enhance digital transformations. Today, he will talk about the dystopian turn on events in Agile Transformation 2020. So stay focused, grab your phones, and prepare your questions in the Q&A section. And please welcome Lyubomir Mihaylov. Lyubomir, welcome.
Thanks everyone. Thanks Ivan. Can you hear me fine? Because I've got like an echo. Or
yeah, now we can hear you fine. I think it was the internet connection, but we can hear you fine now.
Okay. So
Great.
first of all, I would like to thank Agile Serbia and all the sponsors for engaging us in this, I would say, great event. And to all the participants, guys, feel free to ask questions to all the great, I would say, speakers, which unfortunately we could not been there to catch up face to face with you and just be open with questions, suggestions, and everything in between.
Yeah,
I would like to start my presentation with. Let me just share my screen.
The screen is yours.
Yep. Everything good?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I would like to talk about today is a dystopian turn of events in Agile Transformation 2020. What does it mean? Well, considering that all the time when we're working with our clients, we would like to have an utopian environment where we have healthy environment, when we have healthy teams, when we have people very happy and satisfied being in that teams or in that organization. So this is kind of a shifting up of what we try to do in one of the clients that I used to work for the past, I would say 18 months or something like that. And how did we start with gradually moving from our understanding of Agile, our understanding of the company environment, and then how did we manage to shift in a way which was very sustainable for the company, and it was like a learning journey for all of us in that environment. So without further ado, what we start with, it's what we know as of now. What were the challenges? What is our new normality? What were our first victories? What are our working models that arise? And what is potentially the future? So what we know as of now, I think everyone is aware of the Agile Manifesto when we talk about individuals, interaction over process and tools, when we're working about working software over comprehensive documentation, collaboration, and so on and so forth. And then on the right side, there is, I guess, all the tools that all of us has been using in the past, I would say close to 2 years now. Miro, Zoom, Jira, Confluence, and so on, and so many other additional tools that we managed to use. So when I started with that company, obviously we started with why you want to change, what is Agile for you, how you're doing things around here. And the transformation committee or the transformation part of the organization, what they mention is, yes, we know the Agile Manifesto, individuals' interactions are really, really important for us. But in the current situation, we need to go into the tools. We need to go into the right side. And this was like I would say, revelation for me, because even though we were promoting individuals in interactions all the time, to have face-to-face communication, to be proactive, to show transparency, to show vulnerability and all these kind of things, suddenly we started to move to the right side when we needed a lot of processes and tools, a lot of documentation of all the conversation, minutes of meetings, all these kind of things. And then it was kind of, okay, we're still doing Agile transformation and we're still transforming the way that we're working, but suddenly we started to move more to the right, not concentrating on that much on individuals and interactions, because those tools that we're having, and I guess all of us are using, yes, they're great tools and they're promoting a lot of collaboration. But at the end of the day, to make that collaboration, we need to have a setup meeting, and it's, we were missing that ad hoc communication between all of us. So it was kind of very, I would say, eye-opening from my side, and also in communication with the management, that even though we were talking about being agile and concentrating on the Agile principles and concentrating on the manifesto itself to try to make that transformation, suddenly we end up in the situation of having the tools set up properly, having all the plugins, having a lot of information was going through all those tools. So the main challenges that we were having throughout those conversations and things like that, it was keeping individuals in interactions online, because yes, when we had a meeting, this was the daily stand-ups or some catch-ups or Kanban workshops or whatever it is, all things which were under the Agile umbrella. The main thing for us, it was keeping individuals and interactions online. The second challenge that we had, it was keeping the agenda and purpose of having those conversations and having those establishment of processes online, because having those conversations, as you can see now, I'm on one side of the computer, you're on the other side of the computer. That's fine. We're discussing, we're talking about really, really nice things, but at the end of the day, there needs to be some actions after it. It cannot be just, what, we're conversation, we had a conversation, everything is good, but what we're going to do next? It was kind of, again, going back to the point of not concentrating purely on the working software, but concentrating on documentation, making agenda, creating a purpose, aligning everyone with that purpose, which was kind of, again, for me, it was really interesting how we were talking about agility. We didn't talk about specific process, Scrum, Kanban, DSDM, or whatever it is. We were talking particularly of, okay, how we can make that healthy environment more healthy and then achieve our goals in the meantime. So it was kind of really interesting how we start shifting, even though we had that agile mindset or Agile Manifesto, it had to start shifting to the right a bit. Then the other challenge was the transition period. How long we're going to have that transition for? What is going to be our measurements? How are we going to know that what we are trying to achieve, we did achieve, and so on and so forth. So it was kind of, again, concentrating on probably data-driven tools and practices or processes that we can take some data so we can make more informal decisions. The main thing I would say, it was keeping up with our deliveries and commitments, because end of the day, all of us, since we're working for a lot of different companies around the world, the main challenge was to keep our deliveries and commitment or forecasting met and whatever it is, because end of the day, we promised something to our customers, we needed to make to deliver, even though we were in that environment. This is one of my favorite comparisons, I would say, home office versus home office. The picture on the left, probably you can see it, and I hope some of us have that setup at home where we can work perfectly and we're concentrated and we don't have any disruptions and things like that. But for me personally, it was more like this one. Not that I look similar to that person, but it was, you know what, I needed to concentrate on just working, and everything else was like a second priority for me. So it was kind of, I started to get into the habit of every morning when I wake up at 6:30 or 7 o'clock, I'd open my laptop just to check on emails and things like that. So it was kind of starting to affect me, and I'm sure that affected everyone in our day-to-day work. So when we were discussing that with the company, it was for us to find a way in which we're going to be able to create that healthy environment at home. And I'm not just saying only about comfortable seats or something like that, but to create that commitment, that ownership, that focus, that agenda, that purpose for the team to be there. When that certain period of time passed, when we were having our transitions and so on and so forth, we introduced some best practices, which was we came back to the basic, which was transparency, being transparent. And since it was, I would say, transformation organization or journey or transforming, the main thing for us to explain ourselves and to align everyone on the same understanding was what is transparency for us? What is this? Is it Jira? Is it velocity? Is it burn down? Is it release cadence? Is it story points? Is it cycle time? Is it lead time? Is it customer feedback? What is transparency for us? The second question that we started to ask ourselves was how first initially I can be transparent, and then how we as a team, as a program, as a project, as a portfolio, as an organization, how we can be transparent. What are our expectations within ourselves, and what are our expectations with the external world, I would say? How we are reacting on the feedback that we're receiving from the world, and how we are sharing our information. Why do I need to be transparent? This was really, really important for us to understand, because, you know, from perspective of management, transparency, it's like, yeah, I want to see if we're going to meet that one, Gantt chart or story points or release or whatever it is. From my perspective, to be transparent was to share all the problems, issues. Doesn't matter if it was only team driven or it was my personal feelings. And when we were having those discussions, the main, I would say, thing that we found out, which was stopping us to be effective, healthy, and I would say future thinking organization and future oriented organization, similar to what Ari mentioned yesterday, it was waiting time. Why? Because what we needed to learn during that period of time, it was we need to eliminate the waiting time. How we can eliminate the waiting time? By being transparent. Then we started to adjust the working environment that we have to reducing that waiting time. What does it mean? It means it's affecting the whole vertical. It started from the top and it's going down, and then it's going down, up, and in the middle, and then it starts spreading on the right hand side. Why waiting time is the single most damaging characteristics? Well, it showed with us that this was the biggest challenge for us, because first of all, we needed to reorganize the way that we're working. Reorganize in a means of during the chosen process, because I was working with a lot of different teams, and they were using different approaches, different frameworks out of the Agile umbrella, was start being transparent. How we can start being transparent? Well, initially we started to customize, for example, when we were doing our in one of the teams, when we were doing a Scrum framework, what we started to push up is not just answering the 3 questions, but actually identifying the main not blockers, but the main hurdles that we were having with day-to-day delivery. So what we concentrate on, it was not only what I'm working on, but where I can see my biggest issues are, what I can do as part of that team, what we can do as a team, what we can do as a bigger team, what we can do as a program team, and so on and so forth. So when we were talking about being transparent and connect that with waiting time, the main thing was to reduce that waiting time of being effective. So we were not concentrating on fixing a new environment in which people are going to feel comfortable, like sitting in the best chairs or giving money for home setup or things like that. But what we try to concentrate is to reduce the waiting time, because sitting at home, communicating only when there is specific meetings, or just pinging people which are on some other meetings, updated calendars, not updated calendars, all these kind of things, this was a huge issue for us with regards to waiting for an answer, waiting for a decision. So what we concentrated on, it was reducing that waiting time as quickly as possible. And how did we reduce that waiting time as quickly as possible? When we reduce it by being transparent. So we were not bound only to the process that we're using, or the framework that we're using, or the approach, or whatever it is. The only thing that we concentrate on, it was go outside of our boundaries and just reduce that waiting time. How did we do that? Well, it was leading by example, or servant leadership, or whatever you want to call it. It was, the main thing was leading by example. What did that mean in general? Well, the same way that our management communicated, or we started that practice of communicating not only goals and what we need to achieve on the long term, but we concentrated on constant feedback of how whatever we're delivering throughout those teams, how is affecting the organization in a positive manner, in a negative manner. What is our profit, how they're going throughout for that program. Do we have a budget? Don't we have a budget? Do we need to hire different people? Why not? And so on and so forth. So it was by being transparent, we started to reduce our waiting time drastically. End of the day, I think, if I remember correctly, out of because we also start to measure that waiting time, out of at the beginning, it was I think at the beginning the average waiting time for an answer, it was close to a day or something like that, maybe 27 hours or something like that. I don't remember exactly. And when we finished with phase 1, or whatever, wave 1 or phase 1, it was reduced to about 13 hours or something like that, which was about 50% reduction in waiting time. If you think about it, 12 hours to make a decision, it's still quite a lot. But going from 27 hours roughly to 12 hours or 13 hours, it was huge success. What we managed to do that, at the time that we managed to do that, it was about, I think it was 13 or 14 months. So the first victory that we managed to get, again, when we identified which are the biggest blocker for us, transparency and waiting time, the next step that we took as an organization is our environment optimized for the new ways of working? What does it mean? Well, working from home, the alignment, the feedback with our customers, the way that our customers also adjust their way of working. So the first thing that we've done, it was to identify the low-hanging fruits which are gonna deliver us instant improvement in either the lead time, the cycle time, reducing in bugs delivery, quick feedback loops, and everything else. So the first thing what we identify together with that level of the organization, having those making decision power capabilities, it was to identify the quick wins and the low-hanging fruits. When we started with this one, what we understood is that some of the teams were doing quite all right. Some of the teams were not doing quite all right. And then the first question that we identify as an organization was, are we sharing our successes or failures openly? What does it mean? It means that the teams that were doing okay, did they share the best practices? Did they share the way that they were collaborating? Did they share the best practices that they were using from their perspective? Something that we can take over, similar to the conference that we're having. We have so many different speakers from all around the world that all of us were sharing either our successes or our failures. This is something that we already tested, and this was the mindset, I would say, shifting in our organization when we needed to be really transparent with the successes and the failures. Why? Because also failures taught us how to not only what to identify as a blockers, risk, or potential holes that we need to take out, but something that other teams were testing just because they were achieved that level of successes and they wanted to try something else, which reducing some failures. But it was kind of constant feedback loops that we had across with all the teams, because maybe I didn't share that, but the whole program was involving about 44 teams. So it was quite a huge program. The second thing that we identify out of the first win, what were the main ideas that we wanted to implement was potentially feedback loops, improvement backlogs, or things like that, which will affect and define very quick steps and measurements to see if it's working, if it's not working, take it out, if it's working, put it into some teams to test, and so on and so forth. The second thing that we discussed is, do we have an engaging environment? Are we adaptive enough? This was really, really a huge pain point, because I'm sure that all of you work in the companies when we have some engaging people. Some people are quiet, some people are sharing their video when we are talking, some people are not sharing their video. So this was the bottom line for us to understand, do we have the engaging environment? If we have the engaging environment, that's fine, we can build on it. But if we do not have, what are the potential steps that we can take to eliminate those problems which are happening within the environment? Are we adaptive enough and quick enough with those changes? Similar to going back to the previous slide when we were talking about the waiting time, are we adaptive and quick enough to eliminate that waiting time and to be transparent? So it was kind of, okay, this is what we need to work on a team level, this is what we need to work on a program level, this is what we need to work on a portfolio level. So what we've done is we identified the bottlenecks in creating that engaging environment. Maybe too many meetings. What the organization also done, it was they identify one day every 2 weeks when there was no meeting, so people can concentrate and things like that. So what you need to understand is, first, is our environment engaging enough? If it's not engaging, to identify the steps which are, I would say, which are close to your organization, because you already know organization and you can propose what is it. But the question that we need to ask ourselves is, are we engaging all the team members in our organization with a positive mindset, with delivery concentration, with purpose, with ownership, all these kind of nice things. The other thing that we were asking ourselves is, how is our motivation? Do we look for feedback? How we're getting that data information? This was not only on team levels, this was also concentrated with our customers. Because why this is important? Well, unfortunately, it's really important because in the current situation that all of us are living in, I don't know about you, but for me, sitting at home for the past 2 years, it was the first time happening in my, I would say, role or career as a Agile practitioner. Before that, I really like to be close to the teams that I was working on, with the people making the decisions and things like that. And now I feel that I need to prepare for a specific meeting, that that engagement or motivation to just start on something, it's a bit superficial, I would say. And when we were discussing that with the organization, this was one of the I would say things that we need to work on much more, because we said, you know what, we provided the right environment, we gave money for home office setup, we removed the meetings, we allowed the people to be adaptive enough, we use so many tools, blah, 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 whatever it is. But at the end of the day, some people, and I'm going to be honest with you, on some days, day like today, it's very dark here in Sofia, in Bulgaria. The weather is awful, and I didn't want to wake up this morning, because I said I'm going to sit on a computer. It's very dark, and so on and so forth. So this is, I would say, a problem not only oriented about agility and how we can create that engaging environment and everything else, but it's more even from human perspective. Maybe just try to engage all the teams that you're working on a just, I don't know, simple conversations, or just not concentrating on always we need to create improvements, we need to work together, we need to do that, and so on and so forth. This is one part. But to keep our motivation, we need to be very adaptable and open, with transparent and things like that. The other issue that we tackle is, do we have plan for the future? Why? Because considering that the initial anticipation with regards to working from home and COVID was probably 1 year, then year and a half, then now we're going into our second year. I don't know what the future holds. And this was something that the plan that we created to have some people in the office only for meetings and things like that, I would say it's valuable to some extent. The future potentially will expect us to be even more adaptable, not from the perspective of creating beautiful offices and allowing flexibility to work from home or work from office or work from wherever it is, but concentrating all the other parts of our organization and how we can prepare for the future, how we can keep our people motivated, how we are keeping our goals aligned for the future if we continue in that chaotic environment, how we can be more adaptable. And this led to our other question, which is, do we know if we are capable of continuing with this way of working? I would say this is a huge burden for a lot of companies, because working from home and working remotely or not in the office, actually, yes, probably sustainable for a certain period of time, but are we capable of continuing working like that? When I was having discussion with some of the other speakers on many different topics, the feedback that I've got, it's similar to what I noticed. Some company, yes, they are capable of continuing with this hybrid mode of working, with motivated employees, with meeting their goals in that environment. Some companies are not. And this is something for us that we needed to consider a lot. Are we capable of continuing to work in that manner? And the simple answer is no. For us, was not sustainable to have 100% of the teams working remotely and staying at home. Why? Because we had so many different offices in Brazil, in Argentina, in US, in Australia. So the time difference, it was quite, I would say, huge burden for us, because some of the decision makers were based in UK, some of the decision makers were based in US, and we needed to make those conversations either face-to-face for them to travel to Bulgaria, or for me to go to Canada or something like that, which was unfortunately not possible even now. So those, I would say, the motivation, what is our plan for the future, and are we capable of continuing with this way of working? It was something that we still need to work on. The last thing is more important, I would say, from management, not only from management perspective, but from organizational perspective, and we can ask those questions, that we are fixing the system that we're working on, and we're not fixing the people, because some people might react differently to that environment. Some people might like it, some people might not like it, some people might feel burnout, some people something else, and so on and so forth. So what we try to concentrate as an organization was, we're not fixing the system, we're not fixing the people, we're fixing the system. The new working models that we had, it was about alignment and more alignment. This was our main word that we used for the past 18 months. Creation of small and achievable goals. Why? First of all, they're giving us the overview and the alignment that we need to do with regards to work, with regards to motivation, with regards to hiring, with regards to home office, with regards to working from home, everything. When we created those goals, the bullet point that I wrote here are the main ones which help us to get there. Brutally open and forward-thinking organization. What does it mean? Well, up to almost to the executive level, we knew all the information with regards to goals, feedback, markets, return of investment, salaries. It was brutally open and visible to every single member of the organization. Here I'm talking probably for about 10,000 people. Forward-thinking organization, this change after our executive made a few presentations and they were talking about what are the next steps. They said, we need your feedback. If you give us feedback, if you provide transparency, we can make the decisions and we can propose adjustments in everything. So what we started to work on is not concentrating on solutioning for the past or for the moment. We concentrated on solutioning for the future. Very, I would say, abstract ideas were there. When we broke down them to smaller chunks, it was becoming like, okay, this is something that we can tackle. Okay, this is something that we can tackle. And this led to transparency actually visible. Everybody in those transformation, I would say, part of the organization was knowing what are the steps, what he needs to achieve as a person to get to the next level, what is going to be the salary, what's going to be the challenges, what is going to be the expectation, how we're going to work, what is happening after that, and so on and so forth. So transparency was actually visible, and this was the first organization that I actually know what was happening and what I can expect for the future. Decisions that we tried to take for the future was data-driven decisions, nothing else, not concentrating on Scrum or Kanban or control charts or things like that. Data-driven decisions, how people are feeling, how is our customers reacting, what is the customer data, NFRs, everything else was data-driven decision, which is not in the whole company. It was in that department, which count for about 10,000 people, which was kind of, I would say, something new for me also, because the decisions could be influenced only by data. They were not driven by, you know what, Scrum is very famous, now let's do Scrum or Kanban or something else. Quick feedback loops. We created really quick feedback loops, and we didn't use the roles Scrum Master, Agile Coach, Product Owner, whatever it is for I'm telling the Scrum Master and Scrum Master is telling the team. We used I'm telling the team directly. What the Scrum Master or the Product Owner do, it's only facilitation. This is important also to mention that a lot of people are not really aware what facilitation means. The word facilitation, the origin are from the Latin word of facil, and facil means making things easy. It's not about pointing fingers who needs to talk or something like that. It's making things easy. So the role of our product owner, Scrum Master, Agile Coach, whatever it is, it was to make things easy, collect feedback from both sides, align them, make a decision, go for it, then cycle it for 2, 3, 5 weeks or a certain period of time, and then we can make a decision. The other thing that we tried to be a bit proactive with was our customer base. We are changing. Do they? Because, for example, if you just take as example Mercedes-Benz, the way that we're building cars is cannot be done remotely, unfortunately. There needs to be some manual labor done. So it was for us was interesting to understand, since we are changing and we're changing in certain manner, do our customers change? Do they have different expectations from us? Can we make them more comfortable, more the way that we're working, more efficient, more effective for them? So it was very strange, to be honest with you, when we went on some of the meetings with our customers, and they said, you know what, you're the first of our colleagues from company perspective that are asking us those questions. And then it was like really eye-opening for me, because the way that we are changing, it's also affecting the environment which is changing around us, and the way that we are interacting with the environment. So this is something for all of us to think about, which led to our second, I would say, revelation. Our people are changing too. Are we adaptive to their needs? Do we provide enough? This was more from the perspective of, again, going back to the way of, you know what, I'm working for home. For me, being open person and taking it, speaking with people, it's very positive for me. Understanding, listen, even going back to active listening and all these kind of things. The first, I would say, 3 months for me was quite challenging, because first of all, when I was at home, I wanted, and I was talking very loudly, because I was afraid that people on the other side of the computer are not going to be able to understand me if I'm not vocal enough. So I was talking really loud. Probably I'm talking again loud, but it was these adjustments that we needed to make. Is not only I'm sitting on a comfortable chair or something like that, it's how we as people are interacting with each other when we're sitting behind a computer. So for me, the first, I would say, 6 months there was a lot of adjustment to be a bit more quiet, when I prepare my presentations to have this and that, when we start the meeting to start with agenda, purpose, following up, blah, 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 all these kind of things. And it was, again, going back to our customers, we are changing. So how we as organization can tackle all those things, because it doesn't matter what process we're doing, it's all of us, we are human with many different characteristics. In some of the conversations that I had online with people, we had a colleague of mine, she had her kid at home, which was 2 or 3. She attended some of the meeting with her kid, which was very loud. Some other people said, you know what, I'm just eating because I'm located somewhere in the world which is not aligned to Bulgarian time or Canadian time or something like that. So this was being adaptive, not only having comfortable chair to sit at home, but being adaptive with our people. The main thing that we shared also with everyone, part of that big transformation, it's a journey. Be adaptive, progressive, open, and make decisions fast, fail fast. Going back to this is, I would say, the most important thing, that failing fast. It doesn't matter if we do something now, working from home, and it's making sense. This is not going to be sustainable long term, and that's for sure. I can assure you of that is not going to be the way. But if we start trying things, we'll fail fast and we'll learn our feedback. Maybe the company that we're working on is very accustomed to work from home, and they feel comfortable in that way. But in some other companies, it's quite the opposite. So the future, how we can move forward. This was, I would say, the last session of many sessions that we have, which we concentrate on, and what we have done. Why I wrote done is because you know, similar, this is just sarcasm with regards to Scrum, and this is how I started that conversation with them. Created multiple communities of practice, not for following if we're doing the frameworks correctly, but to destroy the boundaries which are stopping us to be effective. This was the main idea. And they chose some names like task force. The other one was a removal barriers force, or things like that. The main idea was those people there, doesn't matter of their knowledge and understanding, their goal was to concentrate on removing the boundaries. The second part, it was to create 365 degrees feedbacks loops inside the organization, team level, program level, portfolio level, everything, everyone to be aware. Goals, deadline, and commitment was agreed with multiple levels of the organizations. There was not only, you know what, we're doing Q planning and that's it, and we stop there. It was when our, let's say, management level decided, get the feedback from our customers and decided what needs to be done. This was cascade and agreed up to the last person, to the junior quality assurance engineer in the team, which was refreshing, I would say. Team were restructured into feature delivery units tasked to work on specific goals with limited dependencies. This was Also, possibility to choose process, practice, frameworks, way of working, whatever it is. So we were trying to deliver specific features, which were obviously big features, broke them down to smaller chunks, and then defined this way of verticals that can deliver in parallel. And if there is any issues, we're going back to the community of practice to remove that that dependency if there is any. Using online tools is the norm, and people were encouraged to use video during events. Yes, this was just to create that collaboration. We had prize nights, we had pizza nights, we had many things. Introduction, this was outside of the purely delivery part of the transformation. We introduced an extension of human resource unit to concentrate on well-being, involvement in multiple voluntary initiatives to bring teams together. It was not only, you know what, we're going to invite some people to have meetings or we're going to buy you pizza. There was a lot of things that the HR department done. The main thing that all of us agree and cascade down to the teams is being transparent is the key. Otherwise, dystopia will be upon us. And this is how I finish on a positive note, considering the weather, that this is a nice picture of utopia. I don't know if all of us will be able to see this utopia somewhere in the future, but yeah, that was it. The main thing being transparent, removing the waiting time, and just be very adaptive and proactive for the future. And that's about it from my side.
Okay, thank you, Lyubomir. Can you hear me just to check?
Yes.
Good. Thank you for a lovely speech. We have a couple of questions, so can we just go through them?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. There is a question. Can you share a couple of examples of your data-driven approach of decision making?
Well, the data-driven examples that we use
Sorry, we are having some.
Yes.
Sorry,
can you hear
just me? some lagging. Can we try again?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I think now it's better.
Okay. Some of the data-driven decision was based on surveys, interviews that we done with the team with regards from purely delivery perspective. What we took out, it was a control chart. We just took out it from Jira. I don't remember what was the process that we used at that time, but we took out of the control chart. We took the measurements, and we used John Little formula to justify how effective we are. Also, when we were talking about prioritization, we tend to use not Kano or Moscow, but we concentrated on cost of delay. So every delivery that we make, every prioritized item that we had into our list of things that we need to deliver, it was cost of delay. What is going to be the cost of delay if we do not deliver that? And we combine those with how teams are feeling at the moment. So we made the decision for the future. If the teams were not motivated, that the work and the transparency between them, it was concentrated on something else, so they can feel a bit more motivated, have successes, and so on and so forth. But generally, yeah, we divide it in two ways: personal and then delivery oriented.
Cool. There is also a question: how did you measure the waiting time? I think you already talked about it, but could we add something more?
Well, the waiting time, again, we measured specific team by team basis or program delivery or something like that. But how we measured it generally, it was combination of all the tools that we were using in the organization, how long we were waiting for some decision on some specific items or bunch of items. So if something was waiting for a decision, it was, just the time was ticking. And if it was not delivered by the decision, it was not delivered by the next day, it was, we combine them, play a bit with Excel and all these kind of things to just do the actual calculation. But I guess it's depending on the organization that we're having.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, and it was really an interesting topic. I enjoyed it, and I hope that we can talk about this more
Sure.
and in person, because I also have a questions for you, some questions for you, but we ran out of time. So I would really like to thank you for joining us, and hopefully we will see each other again, maybe next year, maybe in live here in Belgrade. I would really like
Hopefully.
that, as we talked about before the session. So is there anything else you would like to add?
No, thanks for having me. Even if I'm not speaking next year in Belgrade, I will definitely join as a participant because the people the other speakers are really, really amazing. So I'm sure that we're going to learn a lot from each other. So thanks for having me. Good luck. Thanks for the amazing organization on such a short notice, and fingers crossed for the future. Everything will be good, and we're going to go back to the utopia.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay.
Bye bye.
See you. Bye.